down the volcano. The real journey began. I had still not looked down into the bottomless pit into which we were going to lower ourselves. I could still either take part in the adventure or refuse to try it. Hans, our guide, accepted it so calmly that I felt ashamed at the idea of being less brave than him. I approached the middle chimney. It was 100 feet across, or about 300 feet round. I leaned over an overhanging rock and looked. My hair stood on end. I felt my head spinning and I grew faint. I was about to fall when a hand held me back. It was Hans. I had not dared much to look down into the well, but I could see what shape it was. Its walls were almost vertical and had many rocky projections. These were certainly going to make it easier for us to climb down. If we attached a rope at the mouth of the well, it would provide sufficient support. But the problem was how to untie the rope when we got to the bottom of the well. My uncle used a very simple method to get round this difficulty. He unrolled a rope as thick as a thumb and 400 feet long. First he dropped half of it down into the crater, then wound the middle of it round a block of lava, and finally threw the rest of it also down into the chimney. This way we could climb down holding together the two halves of the rope. When we reached the bottom, we could easily bring the rope down by letting one end go and pulling the other.
Now, having finished these preparations, let's think about the luggage. It will be split into 3, and each of us will tie a package to his back. I refer only to the breakable objects. Hans will carry the tools and 1/3 of the food. You, Axel, another 1/3 of the food and the firearms. I will take the rest of it and the delicate instruments.
But what about the clothing and this great piles of ropes and ladders? Who will take them?
There is no need.
Why?
You will see,
replied my uncle without hesitating. On his command, Hans tied the unbreakable objects into a single packet, which was tied solidly together, and then he simply dropped it down into the vast hole. I heard the low howling sound produced by the movement of air as our luggage fell. My uncle, leaning over the pit, watched the fall with great satisfaction, and stood up again only after he could not see it any more.
Right. We are next.
My uncle attached the package of instruments to his back. Hans took the tools. I the firearms. The descent began in the following order. First Hans, then my uncle, finally I. We proceeded in deep silence, which was broken only by pieces of rock falling down. I went slowly and carefully, holding on to the double rope and using my feet to slow down. I was terribly afraid of losing support. The rope seemed too delicate to bear the weight of 3 people. I used it as little as possible, balancing myself on the lava projections with my feet. When one of these rocks happened to come loose under Hans's feet, he would say in his calm voice,
"Careful!"
After half an hour, we reached the top of a large rock solidly attached to the wall of the chimney. Hans pulled one of the ends of the rope and the other rose in the air. Leaning over our narrow platforms, I noticed that the bottom of the hole could still not be seen. Then the descent began again, and half an hour later, we had got 200 feet deeper. After 3 hours, I had still not caught a glimpse of the bottom of the chimney. When I looked up, I could see the mouth, which was getting quite a lot smaller. That was because as the walls rose up towards the mouth, they looked as if they were coming together. It was slowly getting darker. We were still going down. We had used the rope 14 times, taking half an hour each time. So we had spent 7 hours plus 14 rest periods of 15 minutes or 3.5 hours. 10.5 in total. Since we had left at 1 o'clock, it had to be about 11 o'clock now. At that moment, Hans's voice was heard.
Halt!
I stopped just at the moment my feet were about to knock my uncle's head.
We are there.
Where? I asked, slipping down beside him. At the bottom of the chimney? And there's no way out?
Yes, there is. I can just see a curving tunnel towards the right. We will have a look tomorrow. Let's eat, and then we can sleep.
We opened the food bag, ate, and lay down, each doing his best to make a bed amongst the stone and lava debris. Lying on my back, I opened my eyes and caught sight of a brilliant object at the other end of the 3,000-foot-long tube-like well. It was a star, but not twinkling at all. My knowledge of astronomy told me that it was the star Beta of the constellation Little Bear. Then I fell into a deep sleep.